Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Miscast in the NBA series. Today, we're going to be looking at Santi Aldama. I think Santi's a really interesting player with a lot of fun to watch personally. I like his game a lot. And also, there's just some questions surrounding whether he will be on Memphis next season. But regardless, I think it's interesting because Memphis has a new coach with Isola. I think he's going to be put in different situations. Memphis is actually a really weird team, and we'll kind of walk through why they looked really weird during the course of the regular season. But it's going to look different next year. Whether or not Santi's on a new team, whether or not Santi stays with Memphis, his role is going to change for sure. And I think one of the interesting things for me about his role is you can see that he was used as a spot-up shooter. This was his closest offensive role. He's not the best spot-up shooter, right? You see he's in the 58th percentile, but he is in the 98th percentile as a movement shooter, similar to Luke Kennard, right? And Luke Kennard was used as a movement shooter, whereas Santi was used more as a spot-up shooter. So I'm interested to explore some more handoff, some more off-ball shooting, or off-ball screening for Santi, where he's really good above the break as a three-point shooter. And I think some of that stuff will translate if you put him into different actions. But he just wasn't used in those ways during this season, right? So I'm excited to see whether or not he'll get more reps just having plays run for him off ball. But let's take a look at his player profile. So around 13 points a game, 26 minutes, his 6 rebounds, shot almost 50% from the field, 37% from three, pretty solid numbers. This free throw number has to go up, right? 70%. He probably remains in this bench role even if he goes to another team. I think I have a pretty hard time seeing him as a starter. But even in a bench role, you can be used differently. If he gets a starting role, that would be really cool. I just don't necessarily think I see that happening. So his advanced stats, assist percentage for a spot-up shooter, 85th percentile. He's a really good playmaker. We'll break down the film on some of that stuff. Good rebounder for a spot-up shooter, mostly because big shooter, more rare than just a guard shooter or a wing shooter. And then some of his usage stats. One of the things I wanted to point out was his above the break threes. See, throughout the course of the season, you're trending up a little bit in just above the break threes. And this is where I think his value really shines because he's not just a corner shooter. And then here are his play types, right? So spot up was only in the 50th percentile in terms of efficiency. Pretty good in isolation, very, very low reps. Same with handoffs, 100 percentile on handoffs, but also very low reps, and then good in off-ball screens. This is how he was actually used, just basically only used as a spot-up shooter, very little isolation, basically non-existent handoff, very little off-ball screening, right? And also very little as a roll man. So I think all of these things will increase next year, and the reason why is if we go to team profile, we look at the Memphis Grizzlies. They were just such a weird team. They basically never ran pick and rolls. You can see orange is usage, so basically non-existent for pick and roll ball handler. Click this. Look how far they are away from every other team, right? Same with roll man, just very far off every other team. They don't use handoffs either. Lowest, same with off-ball screening. Not the lowest, but very low usage, right? Just the type of offense they ran was very strange. Thinking Basketball does a great segment on how it's a motion offense where everyone's kind of replacing and rotating around whoever's driving, right? So you can imagine someone driving, everyone kind of rotates around him where there's not really a screen, but there's a lot of player movement involved with their offense, right? Again, that changes with Iisalo. Iisalo likes the pick and roll, and he facilitates an offense where everyone's kind of empowered to be the ball handler in a pick and roll, right? So it's a very quick first action, first pick. Do you get an advantage? If not, quickly move off the ball to your second action, second screen. Someone else comes up, sets the screen, go immediately into your pick and roll action, right? Does that happen? If not, continue on. So it's a lot of stringing together actions and seeing if you can press an advantage. In that type of system, I think versatility is important, right? And because versatility is important, I think Santi's a player that would really thrive under that system. But if not, this is just where the league is heading towards. a more versatile offense. Everyone kind of can do multiple things, and then if you get the ball, like you can start initiating offense quickly to try to press an advantage, right? And I think Santi excels at that. So let's get into film. Let's break it down. Let's take a look at what his offensive game looks like, and we'll also take a look at some of his defensive stuff. Let's dive into the film now. So let's start on the offensive side of the ball. And the first thing I want to start with is this action that the Grizzlies like to start their offense with. It's a wide away action, which is just this like screen in early offense. So Edie is going to set the screen on J-Dub, and you're going to see Desmond Bane come off the screen. And the point of this is you want to set it early so Desmond Bane can come off this and maybe have a shot if Chet is too far back, or you're able to attack really quickly downhill, like right away in like with 18 seconds left on your shot clock, right? You want this to be an early offense. You want it to happen quickly. That's exactly what's going to happen here. So Bane's going to come off it, and then there's a good screen by Edie where J-Dub is trailing already a little bit. And because that screen is set well and you're immediately going into your offense, what that creates is a situation where Chet now has to step up to stop Desmond Bane, right? If Chet steps up to stop Bane and J-Dub is trailing this play, that means while Edie is rolling, someone has to come step up and tag Edie or stop Edie. And the responsibility of that in typical pick and roll coverage is Shea, or is this low man, right? Low man because Shea is the lowest person on the court. And that's exactly what's going to happen here, right? So as this play develops, you're going to see Edie roll. As Edie rolls, you're going to see Shea come down and try to stop Edie for a second. And now when Shea comes down to stop Edie, what has to happen with your off-ball shooter, in this case, who's Santi, is you have to lift up. And the reason you have to lift up is you want to create this passing angle for Bane where Shea can't be in the passing lane. So by lifting up, you're forcing Shea to make a decision. Do I come down to stop Edie, or do I stick with my man in Santi? Now, this is the Oklahoma City Thunder, a historically good defense. So Shea here in this situation actually trusts that Chet's able to stunt and then recover back to Edie where Shea doesn't actually have to tag Edie. This isn't really that typical, right? A lot of times in your typical pick and roll coverage, they're going to actually make contact with Edie. So Shea in this case is going to make contact with Edie, which gives Santi a lot of time to shoot the shot. Now that doesn't happen here. As you watch this play develop, you're going to see Shea not actually tag Edie. For the most part, for a lot of pick and roll coverages, when you don't have a really good defensive center like Chet, this could easily be a dunk, like a lob over the top for an easy dunk if no one tags. Here, Shea doesn't have to do it. But even then, because of that lift, Shea's trailing it a little bit. And then that gives Santi the ability to get the shot off. Also because he's 6'11", Shea's there, good contest. But like, it's a big shooter in Santi, right? And everyone on the Grizzlies is really, really good at this subtle lift, right? So here you see the same thing where Scottie Pippen Jr. is driving. This is kind of what their offense is predicated on. It's just like someone drives and everyone else rotates around them. Here, Vince Williams is going to rotate up, and then Santi's going to shift a little bit up as well and lift up. And that slight shift, what you're going to see happen is Chet is just slightly off guard. Now, if Santi doesn't move, if Santi stays in this corner, one, Chet can actually be in the passing lane to grab this pass, but also it's a shorter contest for Chet to actually come out and close out on this three. But because Santi lifts up and because Chet's a second slow, he's going to get this open look and then no contest from Chet. Or like Chet's going to be there, but like you get a little bit more room off your shot versus just staying in the corner. So here, it's basically the same exact play as the first play, except it's going to be a dribble into the screen. So same principles. Edie's going to set the screen. Desmond Bane's coming off the screen. Gobert has to commit to Bane if the screen is set well, which the screen is set well, which means that as Edie's rolling, Naz Reid has to be the tagger. Naz Reid has to come down and actually just make contact with Edie for a second, just impeding his path so that he doesn't get a clean roll before going back to Aldama. Now, as you watch this play develop, right, if Naz Reid doesn't tag, this could theoretically just be an easy lob for Edie, right? But if he does tag and Santi doesn't actually move and Santi doesn't lift up, it's just a closer contest for Naz Reid, right? So here you're going to see Naz Reid come down, take a step to just stop Edie, and then because Santi lifted up versus where he used to be at like that break point between the vertical three-point line and the curved three-point line, it's just a closer contest for Naz Reid if Santi doesn't move. But because Santi shuffles like 3 steps up It's just a further contest for Nasri. So these are just small things to A, open up passing lanes, and B, also get yourself a cleaner shot. The Grizzlies are phenomenal at this, and like Santi too is phenomenal at this. You can see him lift again here. But the point I want to make in this video is when you're off ball, when you're playing off like a primary creator like Ja or like any other primary creator, even Jaren Jackson actually, who has become a much better initiator this year, you need to be able to attack closeouts. You need to be able to put the ball on the court a little bit. And frankly, like Santi's pretty solid at dribbling. Like he's pretty comfortable putting the ball on the court. The Grizzlies usually even use him as like a point forward sometimes, especially when Ja's out. But he's just very versatile and things he can do, especially with dribbling, with shooting as well, in addition to shooting as well. And then this is just an interesting play that the Grizzlies run. So there's their sideline out of bounds. Wells just inbounding this ball, and then they're going to go into an Iverson cut. So an Iverson cut, all that means is Wells is going to go horizontally across the court, and he's going to get this double screen, first from Aldama and then Jaren Jackson. So after this Iverson cut by Wells, Santi's going to go immediately into a ball screen, right? So right into a ball screen, and then here he's going to be the roller. He exits the screen so fast, and then immediately rolls out to the three-point line. And the reason this is cool is a lot of teams are using this now with the guard screens. And Santi's not a guard, right? But conceptually, it's the same thing because he can shoot. And the reason this play is so effective and so difficult is because a lot of teams now, 1 through 4 or even 1 through 5, just switch everything. Now, when teams are switching everything and you set the screen, like a center sets the screen, it's really easy for the defense to be like, oh, when I feel this contact, I'm going to switch with the other defender. When you have a really quick exit off the screen like you just saw Santi do, or if you ghost the screen, like don't even set it at all and just slip out of the screen, it causes confusion with switching defenses of, oh, should we switch or should we not switch because no contact was set. Also the same principles if it's a very quick exit. So you see Santi exit quickly here, but in theory you can run this a lot more with Santi as a pick and roll roll man as well, the pick and roll pop man, I guess, where he exits quickly and it causes a lot of confusion with the defense. So here that's exactly what you see. You see Santi exit, and then also great pump fake here, and then attacks the closeout, right? Good finish. So Santi just has such versatility to do a bunch of stuff. Like, I'm going to go into some of his creation stuff, which is really cool as well. And this is awesome to see, right? Because we just showed this play with Wells, but you're going to see it run with Santi now. Santi in the first play was a screener, and then now that screener is Jaren Jackson, where Santi's now the initiator. So you're going to see Santi get this Iverson cut, go across the court, first screen, second screen, and then right into this pick and roll by Jaren Jackson, right? We just saw this play with Santi as a screener. Nothing really happens from this play, but like I just thought it was really interesting to see like how Santi is being utilized in various different ways, where he's the one that initiates offense, or he's the one that's setting the screen, or he's being used as a shooter. There's just so many things that he's able to do offensively, which is why he's so valuable, right? So here, they're trusting him to bring the ball up as like a point forward. He's going to go immediately into a Barkley dribble. What that means is because he's bigger, he's going to go immediately into a post up while keeping his dribble live, and he just gets this fade away, right? So again, like, do I think he's like Kyrie as a ball handler? No. But do I think he's capable of bringing the ball up? Yes. And regardless of bringing the ball up, do I think he's capable of initiating offense? Yes, absolutely I do. So here you're going to see the wide away action. We showed it in the first play with Desmond Bane, right? But they're using Santi in that exact position where he's the one that's initiating offense. He's coming off that initial screen, getting the ball from Scottie Pippen Jr. and attacking. Now he picks up his dribble, and right after he picks up his dribble, he's pivoting, right? He's now becoming basically like a hub offense where they're playing through him at the elbow. So not only can he dribble, not only can he attack closeouts, not only can he shoot, and he can shoot above the break as well, but you're also comfortable just kind of throwing the ball to him in the elbow and letting him operate as a passer, because he's actually a really, really good playmaker. So here you're going to see him find a cutting Scottie Pippen Jr., good finish, good cut, but you're comfortable with him finding these cutters, right? Here's another set that they're using. They're running a horns formation, which is you have two people at the elbow, and then you have two people in the corner as well, right? This is called horns out, where you're going to get a screen from the two people at the elbow, and Santi's going to go out and then get the ball to start initiating offense, typically followed up by a screen. Like, this is run a lot for primary creators. Like, the Knicks use this play all the time for Jalen Brunson to get Jalen Brunson not bringing the ball up, but being the one that initiates the offense, right? So here you see like the entry to your primary creator, but in this case, your primary creator is Santi, and then right into a ball screen. So like Grizzlies are comfortable with this just because of how versatile Santi is. Gets this ball screen, draws a defender. So here you're going to see him drive into Fox. Fox is going to provide the help. And then great movement by Wells. Again, the Grizzlies are really, really good and smart with how they're moving, how they're finding space. It's a product of that motion offense that they were running where it's a lot of player movement, not a lot of screens, right? But everyone's rotating around the driver. Those principles and those concepts still exist even when the possession is initiated by a screen. Like, it doesn't change that you need to be able to find space. You need to find, like, oh, my defender is sending help. Where can I relocate to find space? Like, Wells is doing a great job here. But all those principles still exist. It's just Iisalo likes a little bit more of those screening actions and then quickly into a new action. So, like, none of those principles stop happening. But you're just going to see a lot more offense initiated by screens next year when Iisalo has, like, a full year and a full offseason. So, there's the same play. There's a wide away. Screen's not really set here by Edie, which is fine. But you get the ball to Aldama. And not only do you get the ball into Aldama, now you're starting offense again, right? You get a re-screen by Edie. And then just a good lob by Aldama. So there's a good example, right? You don't have a tag defender. Because Chris Paul's supposed to be the tag defender, but he doesn't tag. So now you need your two players who are defending the pick and roll to just be perfect. You have no help here, which obviously they're not perfect, which leads to this lob. Right, that's why a tag defender is so necessary. And then here you're now in random offense. Like, your play's already run, nothing happened for your play. You're trying to like figure out what to do with your offense. This is where it's like critical to have players that can flow immediately into different actions. You're gonna see something to that here. So you're gonna see him go immediately into I'm gonna go set a screen because nothing's happening on offense anymore. So as he goes to set a screen, he sees that Champagny goes up to press Kennard, and because he's going up to press Kennard, then you don't need to set the screen anymore, right? So exit the screen. I'm not going to set it anymore. Gets the ball. Drives into defenders. Draws two. This is a ridiculous pass. So, like, really good cut by Smith. You're going to see Santi throw it behind the back pass. Right on the dot. Good mid-range. Like, that's a crazy pass for 6'11". Basically a 7-footer to me. Another insane pass. Here, inbounds to Santi. He's going to one-hand this back to Scottie Pippen Jr. This bad defense, but like you rarely see 7-footers doing this stuff. It's incredible that Santi's doing it. I really like his game. Like, he can just do so many different things offensively. And then this is just simple, but like you need your off-ball players to be able to do this. Like, just one more pass, connected basketball, being able to find like the more open player. Santi's like more than capable of doing it. I just want to include it, but it's like simple things like that. That's how you get playing time. Like, you need to be able to do these things. And then lastly, I just want to talk about this play. So this is called Chicago, also called Zoom. It's basically like an off-ball screen for Santi here, right into a dribble handoff. Now, we show the dashboard for Memphis as a team profile. They don't run any handoffs. They don't run any off-ball screens. I expect that to change next year. Or if Santi goes to another team, like, there's a very common play run by every single team. I expect him to get this action on other teams. I think it translates for him. Like, he loves shooting above the break. He can shoot off movement. He's already shooting off lifts. So I think that'll translate. I'm just curious to see him in those positions a little bit more. And I'm curious if he stays with the Grizzlies, if they kind of lean into some of those offensive sets a little bit more as well. Let's flip it to the defensive side of the ball. So on defense, it's just to recap, it's a little harder to create defensive metrics. So I want to create like a defensive role thing as well. But I haven't really gotten to it yet. On the data side, I'm more interested in just watching some of the film stuff. So I'm just going to evaluate his defense based off of what I'm seeing through the film. And then at the end, I'm going to compare it to one of the all-inclusive defensive metrics, which is just defensive EPM by dunks in the three. And I just kind of see how that matches up, right? Again, like, in basketball, catch-all metrics are like really tough without context, but in terms of catch-all metrics, like one of the better ones out there, right? So let's start with this rip screen, which is just this back screen by Lou Dort. So Lou Dort's going to set this, hoping that Santi's not paying attention, and then Chet can ideally get like a really, really easy cut, and then Hartenstein just passes to Chet. But Santi's just aware, he's paying attention, shuts the screen, and is able to recover. And I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed as I'm watching Santi film is he like never makes mistakes. Like, look at this. He's already talking. He knows that the double is going to be sent, so he knows that Nasri is going to be open on this cut. He's just pointing it out, like, be careful. Then he's just always like bouncing up and down. Like, he's just always on his feet. He's always looking at his man. You can, in this play, you're going to see his head turn like 6 times or something. I'm exaggerating, but you're going to see his head turn a lot. And he's just always aware of where he is. He's always like in the right spots. He's not like the quickest defender, but he just like rarely spaces out and makes mistakes. Here he is in drop. He's good in drop, not because he's like really laterally quick, but because he's not making mistakes. He's like bouncing constantly. He's in an athletic stance. He's not upright when he's defending this. So he's obviously not a drop defender a lot, but like in the situations where he's a drop defender as a pick and roll like defender, it's not bad. Just solely from just being attentive, right? And then active with his hands. You're gonna see the same thing here. Just look at how he's bouncing around. Look at his head turn. Always keeping track of ball and man. And then always on his feet. Right? Just bouncing. So like that covers up a lot defensively when maybe you're not the most athletic, maybe you're not the quickest. So here we're just gonna see Santi in isolation against Julius Randle. Stays in front of him pretty well. Stays on his feet, good contest. And then forces this switch. Then he's fighting with Gobert. So like it's not for a lack of effort, but the next clips I'm gonna show is why like he's tough as a defender. He'll get picked on, right? So like Ant's a phenomenal offensive player. And Ant was also on a heater this game. I think he had like 45 maybe. He had 40 plus. But you're going to get hunted in the playoffs just because the step back stuff is really tough. Like Ant got him with this a lot. Even Randall started cooking him during this game. They started picking on Santi a lot. I think like being in position and not making mistakes does cover a lot, especially during the regular season defensively. But when it comes down to it in the playoffs, like he has a very difficult time guarding some of these quicker players. The players who like have real start and stop speed. I think Santi is going to have trouble defending those type of players. So I think like when I compare it to the EPM metrics, actually it'll be probably negative, slightly negative, because the on-off with Jaren Jackson is probably not ideal. Even though EPM tries to cover that stuff, and it does a really good job of it, there's still context for the on-off. I think he's probably a below average defender. I'll say like maybe the 40th percentile. And then I think in the playoffs it'll be a little difficult to actually have him switched onto some of your players like Ant, like Luka. Like these type of players, really difficult to defend. So I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna go check what the actual percentile is. I'll come back and then we'll wrap it up. Cool. So I'm back. He has a negative EPM. He's actually in the 55th percentile. Last year was in the 40th percentile. Kind of close, but not too far off. Still a negative defender. But I think like I think there's something to be said about being in the right spots and never making a mistake, which truthfully I just have not seen film of him making a defensive error. But just like being a little bit slower, less athletic, a little flat-footed, when it comes time to the playoffs when you're getting hunted, I think it's going to be a little tough to stop some of these like better primary ISO heavy players. But that's the Santi video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I had a lot of fun watching him. He's a really cool player to watch for me. I like these like players who can kind of do everything, who have good feel for the game, good passers. But yeah, I'm excited to see where he ends up, whether he saves the Grizzlies or whether he goes somewhere else.